Good morning. In the early morning hours, I'm Dr. Chris Zimmer, and I want to do what may possibly be my last video, and you'll see why in just a moment. But it has to do with the door, and of course the number 4 is dalet in Hebrew, the door, and we'll talk a little bit about the reward too, which actually we saw that last time with 1231 associated with it by Strong's. So let's get into this. But first I wanted to just quickly recap what we've seen already. In the past few videos, we've been going through the precession of the vernal equinox over the last few ages and some new dates that popped up in Pi to give us clues as to where to look beyond that. And we seem to be looking way back into creation and possibly into the creation week itself. The precession of the equinox is going back so far that it's probably at the origin of Tishrei 1 back then. Anyway, we see a gift from God, and that, of course, is the rapture in 3 different sources here. The 4-7 occultation of Venus by the moon and the 4-8 Great American Eclipse. We subtract the numbers and we get a definition that's a gift from God. And then Perry Stone also did a video about the Hebrew letters, associating those with Trump's presidencies 45 and 47, and came up with a word that means a gift from God. And then the third one here is in the first 3 clues from the ages, going over the last 3 ages, approximately 2,000 years each. And we get Tishrei 1 from the precession of the equinoxes, takes us all the way back to 125 BCE, gave us an answer of 1031 last year, 2024, and that was associated with the door because it was Halloween. And then Tishrei 1, around circa 1960, 1950 BC, is right around Abraham's birth. It's really hard to pin that one down, but we're pretty close. And that gave us the date of 11/26, 2024. 26, that number is associated with God and love. And then finally, out of the 3, we went back to 4004 BC, which is creation, and that gave us Christmas Day last year. And that's a gift, or the birth of Jesus, which again is a gift. And you put those together and you get the door is the theme, and then a gift from God. So we went beyond that, though. We found a clue in Pi. We had a short fragment that was very profound. It had 4004. There's that creation date. But if you read, that's forward. But then if you read backward or in reverse, you get 4440. So we get a second date out of that. And they overlap by 2 digits, probably telling us that there are 2 dates present there. And I think the fact that this was going in 2024, the rapture didn't happen that year, even though we had 4 different scriptures or 4 different books in the Bible that say 2024, we're still continuing on with the precession of the equinoxes from 2024. So it's as if we're still in 2024 looking for that last date. Anyway, here we found 4004 and 4440 BC, so now we have a total of 4 Tishrei 1 dates that we can calculate, and this was the 4th precessional date, 12/31/24, and from those clues, we got 444 in Strong's is man, a human being, whether male or female, and then G 4440 is gate or entrance. So we have that theme again of a man walking towards a door, Gimel Dalet, as we were looking at before, 2023 to 2024, where we got all the clues, from in Pi and in the billboard on April 8th from the eclipse and all sorts of different places. Okay, so we have that theme again, man and gate, or man and entrance. And this is a reference also to New Jerusalem City. And incidentally, we looked at the galactic alignment at 1231. 375 days was send, and then from Nisan 1 in 2023 to 1231 is 649, which is also send or send forth. And then I said in the last video that I thought it was we are being sent, but It may be, somebody wrote in the comments that it might be the reverse. It might be time to send Jesus, send him from heaven. In other words, the Father sends the Son out to get his bride. Okay, so that was the fourth date. Now this one is phenomenal. We're coming up on a fifth date. And if you look at the position of 10 fragments, you'll see that the first and the fifth, I've got those bolded out because there's a lot of interesting stuff going on there. But basically, this is a search in Pi for 7/26/2025. So I was looking for harpazo, or the, being caught up, the rapture in 2025. Well, when you do that, the fragment number 1 and fragment number 5 turn out to have a lot of extra information in there. So let's focus on those. The first one, if you look at the date 7/26/2025, or not the date, actually, the harpazo in 2025, you'll see that 777 overlaps the 726. And 777 is the word completion or fulfillment, or at least that's what that number means in the Bible. And we're not looking at sincere or sincerely anymore, or earnest. We're past that point. Now we're looking at a fragment that says fulfillment. It says, in other words, basically, if you extract a date from this, this is the date of fulfillment. So we're looking at the actual event. And after that first fragment, if you look at after the year 2025, it's 602, and we've seen that before. That's apocalypsis, or revelation, or an unveiling, or uncovering, or even revealing. So this fragment, the first one, is saying it's revealed. Well, we see the same thing in the fifth fragment. We see 7/26/2025, harpazo in 2025. Overlapping the 726 is 777, so we have completion and fulfillment again, so tying these two fragments together. And if you look at the same position, or the same area where we saw 602, the revealing, in the first fragment, look at that same section in the fifth fragment, and we see 4667. And that seems to be giving us a year just a little bit further back than the last year that we found, the 4440, 4667 BC. So we've gone a little bit further back into what looks like the creation week, and it looks like our date. It looks like these two fragments are telling us that the date is actually being revealed. Well, we still have a little ways to go, because we have to do the calculation for the precession of the equinoxes from this 4667 BC date in order to find the final Tishrei 1 date. So we start off at that year. We have to go one less because Stellarium does it strangely. It doesn't have a 0 year. So we go minus 4666, and that gives us a date of 4/27, April 27th in 4667 BC, at a time of 18:02 and 53 seconds p.m. So we take that ecliptic longitude, the J2000, which is fixed, and we transpose that to this year, 2024, or I'm sorry, last year, because we're still calculating the precession of the equinoxes from the vernal equinox in 2024. We're still going back even further. We don't want to go to 2025 because that'll take us way further into the year, and we would be in error. We want to stick with the 2024 precessional calculations. So if we transpose that for 2024, then that gives us June 23rd last year. And let's see here, that should be the same ecliptic longitude as 4667, and that's a time of 7:23 and 8 seconds a.m. So now we can do our calculations, crunching the numbers. This is for 4667 BCE. I list the ecliptic longitude there. The reference VE is 427, 4667. If we calculate the difference between the 320 and 623 that we calculated this year, there's a precessional difference of 95 days, 2 hours, 17 minutes, and 8 seconds. Well, we've done this before, so I'm not going to go through all the calculations, but if we find month 1, day 1, and then we do some adding of days in order to come up to the 7th month, first day. Then we get to January 4th, 2025. So we're calculating the precessional change in 2024, but it bleeds over into 2025 because it's such a long precessional difference. So anyway, there is our date. That's January 4th, 2025. And I don't think that's the time, because if you go that far back, the time gets skewed a little bit. I think our time was already given at Mazatlan. So then that was 8:53:23 a.m. And we've seen that in several other places, quite a few places. So I think if we put this date for Tishrei 1, we're still with Tishrei 1. January 4th, we're looking at the 5th and final date. So this is the 5th precessional date, 1/4/25, and it's the 5th precessional date and the only one in 2025, which is kind of interesting. If you notice, the 5s are starting to add up, which means the fulfillment of the 5th feast, the Feast of Trumpets. And Strong's 1425 that's a little obscure. It says hard to be understood. Well, I guess it is. We did a lot of calculations and it took us a long time to get here. So perhaps it is hard to be understood, but I think we've got the correct day and also the correct hour. The 4th represents the door. Again, there's that Gimel Dalet relationship. And then 1/4 can also be taken to mean 14, because on this date, the number 14 symbolizes deliverance. So it looks like this date is a date of deliverance. Also, 1/4/25 is Saturday, the Sabbath, and this is the only date I believe that we've calculated that is a Saturday, a Sabbath, which is a day of rest, and that's represented by the number 15. And that, again, in the land of milk and honey and all those other stories, we've seen this 14-15 relationship with the rapture. We've seen deliverance and then rest. So we seem to be fitting with the theme right now. I'm just going to shoot through this real quick. There is a relationship between 4/8, the eclipse last year, and 84 days to 7/1. So there's a relationship between this 4/8/84, which is sinarpazo, which is to seize by force and carry away, and Tishrei 1. So it's all about Tishrei 1. It seems to be this Feast of Trumpets all the way around. And Strong's G71 is go, bring forth. 7/1/24 was the 25th of Sivan, which is 3/25, which in Strong's is 3/25, I send up or deliver. And then Pentecost last year, May 19th, was ER11, so that was sticking with that 2:11 theme, or that theme of a robbery. And we saw 4 words in Strong's Concordance that are related to robbery. And then just real quickly here's that 7/1 again. If you use Drayton Bunyan's code, the 68 code, and count 68 days either way, you get go up and sincere. So I think that was the message before, go up and sincere. And then also in earnest was another one. But I think now that we've got 777, completion or fulfillment, I think we're there. I can't see any other way to say it. Okay, so, and when we also had this moon occulting Venus on 9/5 last year, that's the time was 600. Restore again, and then 7/1 in the usage. So we had that 71 again. This is bolstering that idea of Tishrei 1. This has got to be Tishrei 1, and it's got to fulfill Feast of Trumpets. And believe it or not, even though we're in 2025, we're going back to what may be the very first Tishrei 1, or the very first thought of a Tishrei 1. And that 71 again is bring forth, go bring forth. Okay, and then again we had that moon occulting Spica, and that was on Christmas Eve. And in one respect, it looks like a sickle over that Spica, which represents the wheat or the grain, head of grain. And we also have it's hiding or making the Spica or the head of grain disappear, like the rapture would. And This is on 24:24, Jesus. And then 21:12, the time is immediately, and I guess immediately is, well, these 1:4 will be days later, so we're not too far away. And G55 is sincerely, but now, of course, we have that 777. So we're looking at completion or fulfillment. Just run through these real quick. We had on 12:25. This is almost like a billboard, the same way April 8th was with the eclipse. We've got 3:25 to 12:25 was 9 months exactly, and 3:25 is deliver, as in delivering a child. And we had that 2:11 theme from 5:28 to 12:25, and then from 12:25 to 7:24 this year, 2:11. And then the 153 big fish and Harpagmos, 7:25. We have that robbery theme. And we had, let's see what else here. We still had with that 153 big fish and the 55 and the 125, all that going on. And then if we switch to 12:31, the last day of the year, then we had send away. And then we had some really interesting words associated with the eclipse. 4:8 to 12:31 was change. 9:19, the day of all the signs, to 12:31 is reward. Then we had brethren and a draught, like, the fishing trip, hunting a fish or a haul. And then just looking at the day of all the signs, where the child asteroid was birthed and where the head came together with the body Virgo, we saw on 12:25 forbearance and sincere. So that's, forbearance, stick it out, wait, here it comes, and sincere. And then finally, on 12:31 and from 9/19/2023 and 9/19/2024, we get reward and sing. So it's as if all this is being set up and and put on a billboard and relayed to us before the actual event. Because the interesting thing here was, if you go to 1/4/25, there wasn't really that much in the, if you use these same dates, there wasn't that much that's in respect to the actual rapture on that day. It's like everything had already been said before with reward and sing and all that. And the final day, the biggest thing that was said about that is 777, completion, fulfillment. So no other real big signs or anything heavily meaningful that I could find so far in regards to 1/4/25 other than 777. Okay, so I just updated this, and we're still sticking with the same sort of a theme. If it's 1/4, the time has got to be 8:53:23 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, like it was from the sign of the moon occulting Venus over the first place that the eclipse hit mainland in Mazatlan. So these should be the times. I mean, it's, if you had to wait all the way through the day for the rapture, it's not that big of a deal, but this might pin it in a little bit closer. So let's hope this is it. It sure looks like it is. It says fulfillment, so I think it may be the day. God bless.